Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm 8:20 a.m. Probably wouldn't trade it this morning. Good morning, Joey. All right, folks, so I'm going to start a little bit early. A lot of people are already on YouTube. So good morning. Welcome to the U.S. Jobs Report, Canada Jobs, 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the Trading Director for 10-Minute Trades. Remember, please, that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. Okay, so one issue when we have so much news, and when I say so much news, it's a lot of elements make up the report. And I gave a lot of thought to what I want to do, and I'm just going to trade U.S. jobs. I went back, looked at Canada. You know, if you want to trade Canada by itself, that's okay. But these trades generally need management. It's not always just a burst and an in and an out. It just isn't always working that way. So I would probably concentrate on one report. Now, if you want to trade Canada, I'd use a bracket of 10. There is no DMM for Canada. I'd use a bracket of 10 and then targets 6, 12, 16, somewhere in that area, 6, 12, and 16 on targets. I'd use a stop of 12 to 14 on Canada. Now, U.S. jobs, we have a couple of different setups that you can use. You know, depending what you like to trade, you know, depending what you've been trading, if you have been trading. You know, if you're new here 2 days into your service or even a week, really you should be simming for a couple of weeks. It's really recommended that you practice for at least a couple of weeks if you're new. I went back through all the videos on U.S. jobs. It's very choppy. It's been choppy. It's been working, but it's been choppy, particularly on bonds. Gold, the biggest issue that you're always dealing with gold is liquidity, getting filled, whips. You know, gold is more prone to whipping around than bonds, just from a character of the instrument. Now, there's a lot of information that makes up the report, but the important information is the non-farm payrolls, and they're expecting a big increase. The unemployment rate is important. Good, okay, it just got updated. I was just looking at it. The unemployment rate's important. Those are the two most important numbers. And Canada, you're looking similar, unemployment rate and the employment change. Okay, the US, they call it non-farm payrolls. Private non-farm payrolls has meaning also. Now, there's so much news. I want to see my charts, so I'm going to keep my news off to the side. I'm also hearing the news in my headset because I connect to Financial Juice and I listen to the news. I've done some testing on the ES. Was not crazy about the ES trading right at the moment of the report. I don't have a setup that I love on the ES. I really struggled to find a good setup. this is a report that if you do a lot of your own testing, you can definitely find other instruments that will trade well. ZB has been trading pretty well on this report. The euro, we used to trade 6E on this report. The euro tends to move on this report. The NQ will probably move on this report, but probably be pretty difficult to trade. You'd probably need a very big bracket on the NQ. And we don't have a setup, for those. We do 2 major setups. That's what we stick with unless we're getting ready to make a change. So for us, we're looking at bonds, ZN, or gold. Gold is definitely harder to trade in some ways. Sometimes it'll just burst and it'll just give you a beautiful burst of a trade. Other times it'll whip, it'll scare you to death, and then it'll follow through. And that's one of the reasons we have a very big bracket on gold. So I'm going to start recording early. And like I say a million times, don't copy my exact setup. Deviate a little bit from my setup. If I use a target of 3, use a target of 4. If I use a target of 5, use a target of 4. So gold testing the high right at this moment, not unusual. So I'll go over our 2 setups. I just want to look at my bracket size this morning, so bear with me. So you can check, I'm in Sim. If you want to make sure, triple sure, that you like your bracket size. In other words, I don't like to have too small a bracket, and sometimes it's hard to tell. If you put your time at 0, apply it, and then make sure you're in Sim, just quickly enable a trade. You could see I like the bracket. Okay, I like that size, so I'll leave my charts right where they are. I'm just checking my bracket size. And then I can do the same thing on bonds. I set my time, put my strategy on, I put my time to 0. Now don't do it in live, or you could put yourself in a trade, right? And if you don't get much movement, you might not get much activity. Now, if I set the wrong time, let's make sure I set the right time. I did. See how the bracket's too big? So I'll shrink it. Now I want my charts set up properly this morning. Okay. All right, so gold just made a new high, which is, it's okay that happens, but gold is definitely the more volatile instrument to trade. So the first setup is gold. It's a bracket of 12, activated 59, and then the targets is always a big question. The stop is 20. Okay, you're risking $200 per contract. That's a lot. Okay, so if you don't like a lot of risk, just trade 1 contract or 2. Okay, because it's a lot of risk. I personally like a little bit smaller target on the first target, like 7. So I would consider, if I was going to trade gold, I would probably trade at least 3 contracts, and I would do something like 7, 13, and maybe even 40, maybe 7, 13, and maybe even 40, so that I could, if you get a very big move, maybe I'll be able to move my outer target or move my stop, keep trailing my stop if it's a good move in our favor. But I don't like a first target of 15 because it makes it very hard to get a fill if it's a choppy move or a delayed move. I like to get that first target hit. I just like that first target hit. So gold's a bracket of 12, 59 entry. That means 829.59. And look, you can use the exact targets on the DMM, and no one's going to say this. It's wrong. It's just understand what it means. It does mean you have to have a pretty good move. You have to have a 27 tick move. Now, if you look at gold's moves, they're very big. So the odds are extremely good you're going to get that move. And the way you choose targets is also related to how many contracts are you trading. You know, that's a factor. If you're trading just 1 or 2 contracts and you have lower risk, you know, you can go for that 15 tick target. You'd be risking, you know, $400 roughly. And don't forget that very fast markets, they can go through your stops and you can lose more than you expect on trades. It happens. So I'm going to set up bonds first because I've been trading bonds on this report for about a year. So I'm going to stay with what I'm doing. But I do things slightly different. I usually use a 4-tick bracket on bonds. I always trade multiple contracts, more than multiple. And the number of contracts is personal. It's not something that should ever be copied. And my first target, I'm just looking for a small first target because I'm trading a bunch of contracts on my first target 4. And I'm trading a bunch of targets on my second contract. So I'm not looking for huge, greedy moves. So I'm only looking for 3, 7, and 12 on bonds. 3, 7, and 12. And the entry time is 829.59. And then label, I like to always label my trade bonds. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just choosing targets, brackets, stops, and time. I don't do any automation on a trade that can be super, super, super fast. I just don't. So I'm not greedy. 3, 7, and 12 on my targets. Stop is 6. And the time, 829.59. Now, if you're interested in gold, right? You want to trade gold. Now you can trade, if you want lower risk, the ZN is roughly $15 a tick. You can trade ZF, which is generally will mimic the move of ZN and ZB. And that's $7 and change a tick. I might increase the bracket to 5 on ZF. I would definitely increase my stop, probably to 8 to 10. And targets, I'd probably leave the targets in place. Now, a lot of people like to trade gold on this report because it really moves well. So the gold setup and cancels, I don't put automatic cancels in, but remember, don't forget, if you use the feature cancel in X seconds, don't forget to account for the entry time 1 second before. So if the cancel says 10 seconds and the entry time is 59, you have to add a second to it, right? Because we're not entering at 00. So cancel, if there's no fill in 10 seconds, right? But add a second to it because you're entering 1 second before 8:30, which is the time of the report. So gold, you have a bracket of 12. It's a big bracket for a gold report, gold trade. And again, we talked targets a little bit. Your stop is 20. And then targets on the DMM, they're 15 and 30. And that means you can go anywhere in between. You know, you can do 7 on your first target. And I like 7 on a first target because there's a good chance it'll hit 7 if you have a move, you know, in the direction that you want. Let's check our time sync. There's a lot of people watching on YouTube. If you'd be kind enough, why not give us a like, sign up for the channel, and you'll know when we're streaming. We stream almost every day, once a day, at least 3 to 4 times a week. So to get your computer in sync, we go to the website time.is, and all you do is click it to get in sync. And most people, not everybody, but most people, that gets them in sync. So I'm just watching gold, I'm trading bonds. Let's look at what happened last month. Gold had a big burst. Bonds had a bunch of slippage last month because you could see it got filled very high up the candle. And then it pulled back real fast and hit my stop, which was moved to protect my profit. Gold had a pretty good burst. Gold very fast though, very fast. And the news was a little bit, the payrolls were down a lot, okay? Your payrolls were down a lot. Your unemployment rate stayed the same, which is a little bit surprising based on how negative the report was. Now, why they're expecting a good report today. So they're expecting a lot of jobs to be created. My gut feeling, and I don't trade on my gut feelings, I just like to, yak about it. It has no meaning, so please don't take it don't take it to mean a single thing. My gut feeling is 500K is a lot, and we're going to be under that. I think we're going to be under 500,000 jobs. I don't think the economy is that great. I think there's a lot of problems in the economy. The supply chain is so serious. The problems with ships sitting off the coast, California, there's no one to unload them. I think it's a monster problem. Monster problem. Dutchy, I don't even think about that. I just don't think about that stuff. Dutchy, I'm just trading a setup. I don't care about that. I'm sorry. Don't know but you're right. If under normal conditions, which we haven't been in though, under normal conditions, if the news is good, bonds and gold should go down under normal conditions. And I agree, inflation is very high. Inflation's very high. I don't know where the Fed's coming from right now. Inflation is monstrous. Mark, I didn't like the ES. Didn't like it. I couldn't find a setup that I liked. Entry time is a problem. Bracket size is a problem. It moves. It always moves on the report. The problem is getting in safely. I'm not a lover of the ES. I think at some point with significant testing, the NQ might have a trade here, but I was not even thinking of trading the NQ on this morning. But we've looked at the NQ on this report, and it's going to move, and the ES is going to move also. The issue with the ES for my testing, it was really tough to get in at the right time. That was the problem I had with the ES. I couldn't find a good time to get in. In other words, I kept testing, and I couldn't get more than a coin toss trade, regardless of how I tested. I changed my entry times. I changed my bracket size. And that was using a bracket of 7 to 8, which is pretty sizable on the ES. And I might, to be safe, if I was going to try trading the ES on this, like or maybe the micro ES, I might use a bracket of 10. If I was going to try trading the NQ, like maybe trade the MNQ, I'd use a bracket of 16 probably on the NQ. And that would be, so if I was going to start testing those instruments, those are my starting point. Those would be my starting points for my tests. Mark, I really did test it for you. I'm telling you the honest truth. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I like the way it moves. Yeah, Tom, if you're interested in trading, so if anybody's interested in trading the Canada Jobs Report, the Canada Jobs Report, when it trades with the US Jobs Report, in my opinion, is a family money trade. It usually trades very well. It trades better with the US Jobs Report than it does by itself. I use a bracket of 10 on Canada Jobs. I enter at 8:30, and we've traded it live and made money using these settings. I use a bracket of 10. I have a stop of 12. You could go as high as 15 on the stop, because keep in mind, Canada is only $5 a tick, right? Canada is $5 a tick. I use an entry time of 8:30 because it works well. And then targets, targets are always debatable and adjustable. So Tom, I always like that first target, not greedy, so that I could hit it, so I could shrink my stop at least. So I like a target between 7 and 8 on the first target, second target 12-ish, and then anywhere between 20 and 40 on the third target, depending how you want to trade it. If you just want to try and get out automatically, then I look for a 20 target. I go small. If you're comfortable enough as a trader to manage your way out of a trade, make that third target huge. Because if you hit your first 2 targets, you'll be able to move your stop to safety, and you can wait and see if it'll hit that 40-tick third target, right? So to go over, bracket at 10, entry time 8:30, targets of 7, 12, and then, if you want to trade, if you're only going to trade 2 contracts, I'd do something like 7 and 20. 3 contracts, 7, 12, 25, something like that, 7, 12, 22, 7, 12, 40, if you really want to try and manage your way out. Wow, there are a lot of people here, and there are a lot of people watching on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I'm just looking through the list to see who's here. Everybody that I know is here. Brian, is that you? Hey, Brian, is that you? So if it is, I want to say good morning. Hey, Brian, great to see you. Great to see you. Alonzo, good morning. So I'm set up, folks. I just want to watch the markets this morning. I just want to watch. If you want to check your time sync again, check your time sync. So the important news that we're looking for. So look, the thing that I want to be honest, I really thought I was going to be willing to trade Canada and US at the same time. When I went through all the videos, the management was really the issue. It's very possible you might have to manage both trades. And this is a trade that it has a lot of impact. So it's better and safer to trade one instrument. Now, look, I'm conservative in the trade room. There's plenty of times when I trade by myself that I do things a little bit differently. But the reason I'm keeping my news off to the side is the news is so many different elements to the news that I want to be able to see the charts, right? I want to be able to see the charts. Now, gold's been volatile before. Now, gold opened at 820. And it looks like this is our gold open candle. If you want to have a crosshair, I put it on local. So before the open, gold moved down. Then it continued down at the open, but it was a better move actually before the open. Probably on Jobs Friday. On Jobs Friday, I probably don't trade the gold open personally. I think the markets are looking past it, right? On a normal day, the markets might be looking at it. On a Jobs Friday, the markets are looking past it. So as Chantal said, and Chantal does look at the gold open a lot more than I do, there was not a big move this morning. You could see it's interesting. The move came before the open. And, you're testing high after high after high on gold this morning. And yet, just looking from how many dollars is gold up or down from last night, not fanatically. We've come into trades when the markets were unbelievably volatile. AJ, I've never tested the natural gas open. I believe, you know what, I don't want to give you wrong information. I'm thinking it's 9 o'clock like oil, but I really don't know, AJ. I've never known anybody in all the years I've been doing this. I've never known anyone to trade a natural gas open. Now, so many things are different that I wouldn't go by that. I would do a little bit of investigation, obviously. But it's interesting, you know, people trade the bond open, people trade all the index opens, people trade the grain opens, people trade the oil open. All these years, I've never heard of anyone trying to trade the natural gas open. Now, everything has a theoretical open because markets close. So there's always a theoretical open. But has there ever been a natural gas pit? You know, that's something I'm not as aware of as I am of oil, which had a pit, had an open. Bonds, I think bonds still have a pit. There's not very many pits left. And especially with the crisis that the world has gone through, nobody for quite many months, no one was even working at the exchanges. They weren't. Everyone was working from home. Everything changed. So they're looking for 500,000 jobs. I don't know that we're going to get that many. Maybe. I mean, I think I'd rather have the news be good. I'd rather things be good than bad. Me personally, I'd rather things are good. There are people that want things to be bad because of, you know, whatever. So they can blame somebody. I prefer let's have things be good. You know, Johnny, be good. So it's interesting. I saw Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys playing a concert in New York, upstate New York, not upstate, a little bit north of New York City. And it was so sad. He can't sing. He can't sing anymore. He couldn't sing. God only knows he couldn't hit the notes. I don't understand why they don't lower the key for him. He could not hit the notes. So gold is extremely volatile. It makes it harder to trade. Now, there is no shame in not trading if you don't feel comfortable. Don't ever forget that. There's no shame. There's so many reports. We have so many trades next week, folks. You don't have to trade if you don't like price action before a report. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Just remember that. Don't let anybody shame you into making you do things you don't want to do. That's a lot of volatility for gold. It would not necessarily stop me from trading because look at the last candle. The last candle is much more normal, and we know it's very common to get pre-trade volatility, and we have big brackets. I move my chart. Come on. I keep moving my charts. So I made 468. I really mismanaged that trade. I couldn't move my darn stop. I could not move my darn stop. Again, I want to go to gold, but I don't want to go to gold because I'm superstitious. I'm willing to go to gold after we have a horrible stop out trade. That's when I'm willing to go to gold. I made $468. I moved my charts the wrong way. I did everything wrong. But my setup was geared to victory. Okay? My setup was geared to victory. Okay? You got to understand that. My setup was small. I wasn't greedy. I easily hit my first two targets. And then my stop was stuck on the chart. I couldn't move it. It was me. It was my hands. My fingers wouldn't work. I couldn't move it. So let's have a roll call. Roll call. What happened to you on the trade? Live money only. Live money only. And then the Sims can come in. I want to know if you traded live, what happened to you? All right, Mark. All right, Mark. Okay, good. You traded ZN, made 312. Joshua, you've been having good trades from Canada. Good trades from Canada. Josh, Ray, beautiful. So gold was good. Albert, your strategy fired. Albert, your strategy fired. Ralph is our big winner today. Big winner today. Big win. Look at all the money people made. 15 over 1,500. Ralph, you got to send me a picture. Send me a picture. Victor, you got to send me a picture. Eben, send me a picture. Please, guys, gals, everybody. Everybody made money. ZN, okay, too high of a target. Gold is the way to trade this report. Going forward, I will probably move to gold. All right. The profits are better, but I'm superstitious. Holy crow. Did anyone trade Canada? Did anyone trade Canada? It looked like Canada should have been awesome. Look at the numbers. Awesome, said with the New York accent. Awesome. Canada should have been awesome. 157,000 jobs created when they only expected 65. Holy cream puff, Batman. Now, unfortunately, the U.S. news, very bad economy. Our economy is difficult. 194,000 jobs. That's why the price burst up. Okay, the price behaved. Gold does whipsaw bad when it loses. Mark, I agree. Today, it traded perfectly. I was going to trade gold today, but I didn't want to change up what I did. So I made 468, somewhere in the middle. Many of you made more than me. Tom, you traded Canada, made 125. Very nice. Okay. Juan wants to know what my fill was. Now, some people trade after the trade. Okay. So I got filled 131, 115. 131, 115. That's where I got filled. 131, 115. And I had 4 contracts on my first target. That allowed me to have a nice little trade. Even if I only hit my first target, I would have made, $1.50, somewhere in there. And is there anything wrong with making $150 in 5 minutes or in a half-hour time? You spent a half hour here. AJ, I'm not surprised. Let's look at the news, right? It appeared to come out on time. The U.S. unemployment rate down. See, that's what's interesting. The unemployment rate. We're lucky we had a good trade, because a lot of times this is considered mixed news. The unemployment rate way down. That's a big move in the unemployment rate, but not a lot of jobs created. More private payrolls were created. So overall, it's negative news, but the unemployment rate is down. I mean, we'll let the talking heads figure that out. Gold pulls back a lot, as always, but now it's continuing to make new highs. Okay. And bonds, not that far away from where we started. We're up a little. They look like they're going to move up. Jody, you got filled at 131, 120. So that's very close to me, Jody. That's just one tick. So that's good. let's look at a couple of instruments. So I want to trade ZB. Okay, I want $31 per tick. And ZB, I think it would have been a hard trade because you have a lot of wick. You probably had slippage on that move up. That's the trade candle. I think it probably would have made money, but then it had a monster pullback. ZB would have been much tougher than regular ZN. Definitely tougher. So folks, do you know how to send me graphics of this trade if you had a nice profit? Do you know how to send me graphics of this trade? Now YouTube, how about everybody on YouTube give us a like, because we have the guts to trade this report live at the instant the news comes out. Do you know many people that are willing to do that? I don't. You got to be a little bit of a maniac to trade the news, or a little bit of a rebel, right? A little bit of a rebel, I think. Let's see. So everybody reported in. Chantal made money. Robert made money. Michael, a little bit big on his targets. He made a couple of bucks. Wally, yep. Error messages because of speed. No problem. Wally is low, because in this kind of trade, you're going to get filled on the right side. You're going to get filled on the right side. Jody, the reason I made more than you on the same instrument is I didn't move my stop. I couldn't. I wasn't able, but I wouldn't have moved it to break even probably on my first target. I would do it on my second target. I'd probably go break even minus half on my first target, just for future thinking about it. Okay. Wally, you understand what I said in that email now about, I don't necessarily care if there's an error, because a lot of times there's an error, but you're filled on the right side, and it's just a question of making sure you get yourself out of the trade. So Wally, I think making $1,200, you totally understand what I'm talking. Mark, very good. Mark is a different type of trader. He's trading differently, more of a trend trader. Mark, did you get good signals from TS? This morning? Now that's gutsy, Mark. To go in before the news is very gutsy. I mean, because that to me is a coin toss. That's a coin toss. I understand you had money to play with. If you were up, you had money to play with. So that's fine too. And, you know, gold was kind of signaling what it wanted to do, but we've seen those signals before, and they often don't hold up. They change. They often change. It just is what it is. Let's look at the video. If you want to see a professional, a quote unquote professional trader, I'm not a professional trader. Number one, I do not consider myself a professional trader. I consider myself a member of JOBB. Do you believe me when I say that? But that's what I am. That's how I see myself. I just show you what I'm doing. I'm a member. I'm not anything special. And today, I traded kind of crazy. I couldn't execute my trade the way I wanted to. So I'll show you what happened to me. But I protected myself by not being greedy. And I traded a fair amount of contracts. I traded 8 contracts. But I couldn't move my stop, and that cost me a couple of ticks probably, because I could have gotten out better. When I finally was able to move my stop, it was flat. And I created an error because I put my stop above the current price, and that creates an error. But bingo, I'm already up. I already am up almost $200, folks. Okay. And because I couldn't move and get myself out of the trade, I cost myself about $60. I cost myself about $60 because I was just couldn't move my stop to get out of my trade. And it just stuck. It just got stuck. I was me. I just couldn't move it. It was my own personal not being able to move it. Look at the move on gold, though. It was a gorgeous, beautiful move. Watch gold. Tried to scare us out of the trade. I'm happy that I said I would still trade gold, and just a beautiful, beautiful move. Very, very tradable. Not frightening at all. Excellent, excellent gold trade. So ZB looked tough. How about NQ? Someone said they looked at NQ, it was choppy. Now, see, the interesting thing is when you look at NQ, it was great 5 minutes after. Before, NQ had a whipsaw. NQ would have probably been a stop out. It had a whipsaw trade candle. Whipsaw trade candle. Hang on one second. Whipsaw trade candle. So I'm so happy. And, you know, this is why I'm not a lover of the indexes on the big, big, big reports. Big, big, big reports can be trouble with indexes. With indexes. You want to trade the indexes the way Mark trades. Have a signal that you use to get in after the news, after a trend is created. So look, the NQ barely broke the PP, which is very heavy support, and then it went up from there. So that was a very good long signal. Didn't break support, but for a moment. But for a moment, and not very much. Mark said he looked at the ES. It wasn't that great. Again, ES at the moment of the trade has a whippy candle like the NQ. Bad candle. Bad candle. How about the euro? How about the euro? The euro trade candle looked a lot like bonds. Went up, had a low volume wick, pulled back like ZB, and then went back up. Not an easy trade. Not an easy trade. Yep, ES would have been terrible. NQ was terrible. Hang on, I'm sorry, my son is texting me. It's been a very, very difficult year for both my kids. Horrible surgeries this year. Horrible. So we looked at Euro. We looked at NQ. We looked at ZN. So, you know, we looked at everything. Let's look at Canada. Let's look at Canada. 6C, 1221. I could have gotten away with just putting my Canada trade on. It would have been a winner. Okay. Would have been a winner. Tom traded Canada using my settings. Is that correct, Tom? Did you trade Canada using my settings? When I say my settings, sometimes they're my boss's settings. When there's a DMM, it's always my boss's settings, and then I sometimes modify in the room based on how the trades have been going over the past months. Canada's my settings because he doesn't do a DMM for Canada. Not because he disagrees, just because he does. I do the extra trades. That's always been my job. I find extra trades. That's always been something I've done. because that's part of my job. I made it, put it this way, I made it part of my job. So I don't know if Tom is still here. I don't see him. So I'm happy to say that everybody that traded live had a good trade. Quite a few traders who trade discretionary also had good trades. So if you're not a member, if you're watching on YouTube, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be a member, why you wouldn't want to join up with us. Tess, that is a hard trade to manage, 2 trades, depending which ones they are. Bonds are very hard to manage. Bonds are hard to manage. It's very choppy. Gold has been better lately, I think. I think gold's been better. If I would have traded gold, I definitely would have made 1,000 at least, because I would have traded it pretty large. But, you can't sit in a corner and say, I would have, shoulda, would have, shoulda. It is what you did. And you must always take full responsibility for what you do and be happy about it. I'm very happy about my trade. I don't mind making almost $500 on any trade. We made more than 1,000 this week. We had a good week. Don't forget ADP. People made serious money on the ADP report this week. So family money trades had been very difficult for some people who started with us a month and a half ago, but it's getting better. And Ray, that's very true. Sometimes there's no managing gold because it moves so fast. But Ray, so what does that tell you? It supports my theory of not being greedy, because if you're greedy, sometimes it'll hit your first target and then pull you out of the trade with a loss because you didn't have time to move your stop. It moves so fast. And there's slippage and there's low liquidity on gold. So don't be greedy, folks. Don't be greedy. There's always another trade. Albert, that will happen on a low volume burst. A low volume burst. And when you look at ZN, Albert, and when you see just wick, it'll never be a fully formed candle. Albert, I say never. It'll hardly ever. I don't think I've ever seen a fully formed candle not fill a price point. But when you have a low volume wick, then it could easily go through a target and not fill. Okay? So if I turn this into an arrow, that's a low volume wick. I had to work to not get filled. I was fumbling around on that chart for about 20 seconds. It was kind of goofy. Who's got a question? Nobody's crying in the corner this morning, so that's awesome. How do you close and save a Ninja script output file? Oh, Wally, so it's easy. So if your Ninja script output file is open, right? So I'll open mine. And everybody should have a Ninja script out. Oh, where is mine? Did I close mine? All right, so I closed mine, so mine's going to be blank. Everybody should do new Ninja script output and minimize it. So Wally, all you can do is cut and paste the text. Cut and paste it, put it in a Word file, and then minimize it. And cut and paste it into a Word file. But on a day like today, so Wally, it almost doesn't even pay to send it. I can tell you what happened. When the market moves that fast, and we'll go through this 1,000 times because it is what it is, and the markets for the last 3 months have been faster than we've ever seen. They've been having reactions that are faster than we ever saw. What happens is the stops and sometimes the targets
are not in a ready state to be filled, and it's like they're invisible. So sometimes the software can't find the stop, it gets an error, tries to close the software, the program. Sometimes it just throws an error, keeps going. I'm testing some new versions with different error handling. But I just know in my heart we're never going to be able to solve the problem, because you can't solve the problem of super fast markets. And the bane of event traders is sometimes super fast markets. You got to close your trade manually. Be aware, if the software can't find your stop, it might put an extra contract in, and you got to close it manually. You have to be totally aware when you're trading events for fast moving markets, that more often than not, you're going to be in the profit, because you're going to get filled more often than not in the correct direction. When there's as big a move up as we had today in gold, even if it's fast, you're going to get filled. Most people, as long as things are optimum on your computer, good speed on your internet, you don't have a million resources being used behind the scenes. All right. So a brief look at next week. Next week, there are a ton of trades. A ton. Now, there's a couple of trades that have not been performing the way they should be. Can I find my schedule? Where'd my schedule go? Hold on. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. What the heck did I do with the schedule? Give me a second. Let me make sure this is accurate. I think it's pretty accurate. So next week, there's a lot going on. Monday's a holiday. We've got retail sales. We've got 30-year bonds. PPI is not a money trade because it's trading with unemployment claims. Australia jobs has been the one report that hasn't been performing well. So it might be its last chance. WASD is Tuesday, 10-year bond, core CPI. Some higher risk. We're seeing some higher risk activity because the reports have been a little bit, we've gone through a little bit tougher trading. It's not always going to be the way it was in April, May, and June. Those were really perfect trading months. They were great. It's not always going to be great. Sometimes you're going to have to struggle and work really hard to make money. That's part of trading. That is very normal. It happens. It happens. Doesn't mean things aren't working. Honestly, it doesn't. Because as long as we keep our eye on the ball, if reports start misbehaving, then we look for slightly modified settings. Or sometimes you have to put a report out to pasture for a temporary time. There's no way around it. Any questions, folks? We had a good week. And next week, I'm anticipating another good week. Any questions? Because I think it's time to go. If there's no questions, everybody made a little bit of money. Almost everybody that traded live. So congrats to everybody. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Give us a like, sign up for the channel. We'll be streaming next week. And I want to thank everybody for coming into the room. It's always fun. It's especially fun on a Friday when you make money to bring it into the weekend with a smile. You don't have to wake up on Saturday morning going, oh, I didn't make money yesterday. Oh, man. Right? Making money on a Friday is always the best way to go into the weekend. You too, Dutchie. No matter what you say, we could say, you know, you're not going to go crying in the corner, but I'd much rather make money on a Friday than lose money. It's just that simple. It's just that simple, right? Make money. I have a better weekend. I don't know about you. It makes me feel like if I see people in the room making money, hey, Mark, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. How old? Let me guess. I think you're under 42, between 39 and 42. Oh, look at that. Okay. I was thinking 39 to 42. Oh, man. It's a good age to be. Good age to be. All right, folks. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see everybody on Tuesday. See everybody on Tuesday. Take care.